Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Today we'll be discussing on fertility, lesson number 10. In the previous lectures, we have discussed about the significance, trends in terms of migration, and so on. Today we'll be discussing about fertility, mortality, because these are going to play a vital role, my dear friends, in terms of the size of population in a particular geographical area. Fertility refers to the number of children born to women. Fertility is composed of two parts. One is the biological factor, and the other one is the sociological factor or social aspects. The biological component refers to the capacity of an individual to reproduce. How many children, how many children they can be born, or else the capacity of the people to reproduce. So we call this as the biological factor. The natural fertility is the level of reproduction that exists in the absence of deliberate birth control. So, a woman, on an average, if she is going to give birth to a child during the age of 15 to 49 years, we call this period as fecundity, where the woman is eligible to give birth to a children. So, normally, a woman can give birth to 16 children with a gap of 2.2 years between each child, my dear friend. So, if the lady is going to maintain approximately 2.2 years gap between each child, then the lady can give birth to 16 children. This is the maximum level of reproduction for an entire group. However, in actuality, there is no known population which has achieved the highest level of reproduction, because the reasons can be attributed to the social component of fertility behavior. There are several different measures of fertility. The basic goal of measuring fertility is to estimate the number of children that women are having. The data can be used for measuring fertility, usually which is drawn from a combination of census and vital statistical sources. In addition, we also have sample surveys or special census tabulations, which can also provide the fertility rate in a particular geographical area, my dear friends. According to National Family Health Survey 4, which was conducted during 2015-16, 80% of the children under age of 5 years have birth registered with the civil authority. That means 20% of the children below the age of 5 years are not registered as of now. This includes 62% of children with birth certificates. Out of 80% of the children, 62% of the children have birth certificates, my dear friends. Male and female children are equally likely to have their births registered, my dear friends, according to National Family Health Survey. Fertility varies considerably in various subgroups of the same population. These subgroups may be based on age, the residence of the individuals where they reside, then their economical condition, the religion, education levels of the individuals, occupation, caste, and so on. Information about differential fertility will be helpful for us to identify various factors which are going to determine the fertility levels among different groups of the population. The study of differential fertility is important. Is important for at least two reasons. The first reason is that the study of fertility of different population groups provide us valuable clues to the factors of reproductive behavior in general. For example, the level of fertility varies inversely with the level of education. If a proportion of growing population completes higher education, the overall fertility rate may come down. Second one is that fertility differentials indicate changes taking place over a long period of time in a population composition, my dear friends, in a specific geographical area. If the developing countries exhibit a faster and higher rate of population then developed countries, the population of the farmer will constitute a larger proportionate proportion of the world's population, my dear friends. Now let us see the importance of the study of fertility. The fertility uh, will help the policymakers in designing the policies for the welfare of the people. It also helps the administrators. Then it also helps in terms of providing health facilities for the people. Like research studies in fertility have given adequate importance for formulating and implementing the population policies across the world in the respective states or countries. Population policies have become necessary for all the countries where the rapid growth of population is occurring. Um, Another reason for the growing interest in the study of fertility is the variations in the age structure. It was observed that the age structure of a population is determined by the fertility, and the variation in age structure can lead to serious social and economical as well as political issues or problems, my dear friends. Now, let us see the trends in terms of fertility across the world. If we see across the world during 1950 to 1955, the fertility was around 5 births per woman. Coming to 1970 to 1975, it has been decreased to 4.5. It has been further decreased to 2.5 during the year 2010 to 15, my dear friends. And if we see in least developed countries, during 1950 to 55, the average number of births per woman was 6.6, which has been decreased to 4.3 during the year 2010 to 15, my dear friends. If we see in Asia, Asian continent like or region, during 1950 to 55, an average woman or the average number of births per woman was 5.8. It has further decreased to 2.2 during the year 2010 to 15, my dear friends. So we can see that there is a rapid decline in terms of average number of births per woman in the during these times. Now let us see the crude birth rate, my dear friends, across the world. If we see during 1971, the crude birth rate was 31.56 across the world, which has been decreased to 18.20 by the year 2018. If we see the crude birth rate in India, it was 38.82 during 1971, slightly decreased by 35.91 to during the year 1981. As the years has been passed, by 2018, it has been further decreased to 17.85, my dear friends. The crude birth rate has been decreased from 38.82 in the year 1971 to 17.85 in the year 2018. If we see the neighboring country, China, which used to be hugely populated, in that country, it used to be 30.65 during 1971. It has been decreased to 10.90 by the year it reached 2018. That's the reason we can see that the number of dependent population in China is increasing, which made the government of China to change the policy from single child to that of the double child policy, my dear friends. And if you see the United States, it was only 17.2%, or the crude birth rate was only 17.2 in the year 1971. And by the time it reached 2018, it was decreased to 11.6%. And if we see our neighboring country, Pakistan, which used to be a part of India, in the year 1971, the crude birth rate was 42.93. 42.93. By the year it reached 2018, the crude birth rate was 28.25, my dear friends. It has been almost decreased by 14%. And if you see the Bangladesh, the neighboring country, Bangladesh, which used to be part of Pakistan, in the year 1971, 46.87% crude birth rate. By 1981, it has been decreased to 42.24. But by 2018, my dear friends, it has drastically reduced to 18.18%, my dear friends. So we can see the crude birth rate is also decreasing drastically, my dear friends, across various parts of the world. Now, let us go for fertility in India. According to Davis, during 1881 to 1891, the crude birth rate was about 49 per every 1,000 population, my dear friends. But after 1921, there is some evidence of decline, maybe by 30.9% from 49. It has been decreased to 30.9%, while in the urban areas, it was only 24.3% per every 1,000 population, my dear friends. There is a variation in terms of crude birth rate in different states. It's not the same in all the states across the country. At Bihar, it is 27.7%. In UP, it is 27.4% with the highest, and it is lowest in terms of Tripura by 13.9%. And in Goa, it is 13.1% according to National Health Profile, my dear friends, according to 2018 statistics. Based on the available population statistics, certain generalization have been drawn of the differential fertility. There are two causes. The first one is less developed countries have higher fertility rate, whereas rural areas have higher fertility than urban areas. So they're based on the statistics, made two drawn two generalizations. One is less developed countries will have higher fertility compared with the developed countries, my dear friends. And among the rural masses, it's obviously higher than the urban areas. Now, let us see the crude birth rate in India according to rural-urban differences. If we see in the year 1981, my dear friends, the crude birth rate in the rural area is 35.6, whereas in the urban centers, it is only 27%, my dear friends. By the year 1991, it has been in the rural areas, it has been decreased to 30.9, further decreased to 27.1% in the year 2001. By the year 2016, it has been reduced to 22.1. Whereas in the urban areas, my dear friends, by the year 1991, it has been decreased to 24.3 to 20.3 in the year 2001 to 17% by the year 2016. So the crude birth rate is also declining both in India. Now let us see the assumptions, my dear friends. The fertility of an educated person is less than the fertility of an uneducated person. We said that developed countries have less crude birth rate than the underdeveloped countries. Rural areas have higher birth rate, whereas the people who are educated, they have the less birth rate or less fertility compared with the uneducated. Then lower income groups and those with the relative low education have shown higher birth rates than the middle and the upper classes, my dear friends. So these are the four generalizations which our people have made based on the available statistics. Then let us see the differential fertility in India. Let us see the factors responsible for that. The first one is regional factors in comparison with the fertility. Regional differences in fertility have to be studied along with their economical status like occupation, employment, employment of women in that area, region, caste, race, and so on. Fertility differentials may also be due to demographical factors such as age, sex, structure of the population, socio-economical conditions, and so on, my dear friends. So our duty is to take all these things into account to study the regional factors. In India, the fertility differentials in the year 1951 between rural and urban were relatively smaller because of gradual narrowing down of these differentials since 1931. But after 1951, urban fertility was consistently smaller than the rural fertility in most of the states across the country. As per the National Health Profile 2018, the rural fertility rate in India or the crude birth rate was registered to be 35.6, whereas in the urban areas it was only 27. In 2011, according to 2011 census, the crude birth rate in the rural areas has been registered by 23.3%. Coming to urban areas, it is 17.6%. Whereas by the year 2016, my dear friends, the birth in the rural areas has come down to 22.1, whereas in the urban areas, it is only 17%, my dear friends. Now, the second one is the education, my dear friends. We said that the higher education, the fertility level comes down, my dear friends. The countries like Egypt, Taiwan, and Chile provided a clear negative relationship between the educational levels of the women and the number of children born to them. Similarly, in India, a few studies also were taken up to study the effect of education on fertility rates. And this also shown that the highly educated women prefer to have smaller families, my dear friends, whereas the lower levels of education among women led to higher family or higher fertility rates. I mean, even the educated women try to go for marriages, prefer to go for late marriages, whereas the people with less education levels were have gone for marriage at the early ages, my dear friends. So we can see the relationship between the education and that to that of the fertility. Now let us discuss about the economical conditions to fertility. This both the things, economical condition and fertility, are interlinked, directly linked with each other. The economical relations and fertility tends to have negative relations, my dear friends. In the traditional agriculture families, the fertility is very, very higher. Whereas if we see in the so-called modern societies, my dear friends, based on their occupation, based on high income levels, the fertility rate has come down and people prefer to have small families, my dear friends. So this has been found across the world, not only in India. Then we also find the relation between occupation and fertility. People who are having higher occupational or good occupation, like or the skilled people, among them the fertility rate is very, very low. Whereas among the people who are unskilled or semi-skilled, my dear friends, the fertility is very, very higher among these people. So they have a strong desire to have more children so that they will contribute to the economical condition of the family, my dear friends. Then we also have religion, which is linked with the fertility. Religion is also going to affect the fertility of the individuals. Because according to Islam and according to Hinduism, they say that using any contraceptions to stop giving birth to children is treated as a sin, my dear friends. And these religions have favored large families and they also encourage to increase their religion or followers, my dear friends, which led to the growth of population. Whereas among Christians and some other religion, we can see that only monogamy form of marriage has been encouraged, and they have encouraged only smaller families, my dear friends, which has increased or decreased the fertility rate, my dear friends. Then, how do we measure this fertility? There are three main sources of data which is needed to study the fertility. One is vital registration system, second one is population census, and the third one is sample surveys. These are the three main sources by which we can get the information so that we can measure fertility. So there are two ways or two types by which we can measure fertility. One is the period measures of fertility, and the second one is cohort measures of fertility. Now let us discuss about them in detail. Period data refers to a particular calendar year and represent a cross section of the population at one specific time. The period measures of fertility includes the simplest and most frequently used fertility measures, the crude birth rate, general fertility rate, like. Whereas the cohort measures of fertility are designed to follow the fertility of women as they proceed through the childbearing years of life. The cohort method includes the total fertility rate, gross reproduction rate, and net reproduction rate, and fertility expectations, my dear friends. Now let us see how to calculate the CBR, crude birth rate. Crude birth rate is represented by CBR. CBR is equal to number of live births in a year, which is represented by B. Number of live births in a year divided by mid-year population during that particular year. We represent it by P multiplied by 1000. So CBR is equal to B divided by P into 1000. By using this formula, we can calculate the crude birth rate. Okay. Now, let us go for general fertility rate. It is represented by GFR. General fertility rate, GFR, is equal to B divided by P. B divided by P into, in bracket, 15 minus 49, because a girl can be giving birth to child from the age of 15 to 49 only. So we are going to take the women who are in the age group of 15 to 49 years only, not all the women population, my dear friends. In the earlier one, you're going to take the population from 1 year, from 1 day to that of all the people. Whereas here in the general fertility rate, we take only the women who are in the age group of 15 to 49. So B, births, the births taken in that particular year divided by population, nothing but the number of women who are in the age group of 15 to 49 multiplied by 1000. By using this formula, we are going to calculate the general fertility rate, my dear friends. Then let us go for age-specific fertility rate. Age-specific fertility rate. It is represented by ASFR. Age, A, specific S, fertility F, and rate R. ASFR is equal to B small I divided by P small I into 1000. BI divided by PI into 1000. By using this formula, we are going to calculate the age-specific fertility rate, my dear friends. BI represents live births to a woman during a specific age group. Okay, number of live births to women of a specific age group. For example, if I'm going to take 15 to 20 years, or 15 years, 16 years, or 17 years, like I'm going to take a specific age group of women and how many children are born to that woman of that age group that I'm going to collect likewise. So BI is nothing but the number of live births to a woman of a specific age. PI is nothing but the mid-year population in the same age group into 1000. By using this formula, we can get age-specific fertility rate, my dear friends. The age-specific fertility rate will be useful for certain reasons. Like, let us see why and how they are going to be useful. The first one is, it is going to reveal the patterns of the rate of childbearing throughout all ages and the extent of differences in fertility between different age groups. We can have that information. It permits the study of fertility in terms of cohort of women tracing their fertility as they pass through life. And the third one is, it will be the basis on which other measures of fertility like general fertility rate, gross reproduction rate can be calculated, my dear friends. So for this way, this is going to be useful for us. Then what is this TFR? Total fertility rate. It says that the pattern of fertility exhibited by the age-specific fertility rates and presents a single index of total fertility. It is nothing but a summation of age-specific fertility rates over all ages and is multiplied by the interval into which ages are grouped. For example, total fertility rate is equal to ASFR, age-specified fertility rate into 5. Using this formula, we can calculate the total fertility rate, my dear friends. Then what is, we have this gross reproduction rate. The total fertility rate refers to the total number of births, including males and females, per 10,000 women. The gross reproduction rate takes into account only the female births. The gross reproduction rate takes only the females, since it is only the female babies who eventually will bear the children in the near future. That's the reason we are going to take gross reproduction rate, only the female births. Remember that. The gross reproduction rate is computed by multiplying the total fertility rate with the proportion of female births. Okay. So gross reproduction rate is equal to 2.09 into 1000 divided by total births. For example, thing in a city during the financial year 2018-19. The total fertility rate is 2.09. Already we have used the formula to calculate TFR and we have got it, say 2.09. Then the number of males per every uh, um, 1,000 females is equal to 110, 1,100. Then the total birth rates will be 2,100. That means females are 1,000 and the male population is 1,100. So the total birth will be 2,100. Then gross reproductive rate is equal to reproduction rate is equal to 2.09 into 1,000 because there are only 1,000 females. So 2.09 into 1,000 divided by the total births, that is nothing but 2,100. By using this formula, we are going to get 1.003. So the gross reproduction rate is only 1.003, my dear friends. By this way, we calculate the gross reproduction rate. In this lesson, by now, we have discussed what is fertility, how it is going to affect the fertility rate across the country, and how to calculate different types of fertilities, my dear friends. Now, let us go for mortality. Mortality is nothing but if any person expires, that we call it as mortality. And this is also very important because it is also going to affect the population composition across the state or across the country or across the world, my dear friends. So a large number of steps are involved in measuring and analyzing the causes for mortality within a specific geographical area or across the world. First, it is possible to measure the absolute number of deaths in a country during a period. World Health Organization has collected the mortality data from different countries of the world and classified the same according to the causes of the death. So once you know the causes, if it is a natural death, it's violent, fine. But if there are other factors like it is because of health issues, it may be because of traffic accidents, or it may be because of suicides or something like. So we can do certain things. We can take certain measures so that we can control the mortality rate or the death rate, my dear friends. So even World Health Organization is also going to gather all the information about death rates and the causes for that, and they're going to compile the data, my dear friends. Now, let us go for the trends in mortality across the world, my dear friends. If we see across the world, my dear friends, in the year 1971, the crude death rate was 11.75. By the time we reach 2018, it has been decreased to 7.7, my dear friends. Whereas coming to India, the crude death rate was registered around 16.73% in the year 1971. By the year 1981, it has been decreased to 13.02, further decreased to 7.23 by the year 2018. If we see China, there is less incidence of this crude death rate. In the year 1971, it was registered only 7.32 and decreased only to 7.1 by the year 2018. So we don't see much change in terms of China, in terms of crude death rate, my dear friends. But in terms of India, we have seen that there is a drastic decline from 16.73 in the year 1971 to 7.23, my dear friends, by the year 2018. And if we see in terms of Bangladesh, it used to be 19.26 in the year 1971, but decreased to 5.52 in the year 2018. So we can see that the crude death rate is decreasing because of education awareness. When people are aware, they are taking precautions so that they can maintain their health, they are maintaining diet. At the same time, there is advancement in terms of medicine, technology, everything. So people are getting benefit of this advancement, the medicine, everything. So that's the reason the crude death rate is coming down, my dear friends. Now let us see the differential mortality in India. So the first one is based on sex and age differences. If we see mortality among both the sexes is not the same. It is different. Excess of male over female deaths. exist even before birth, with a fatal death rate of males being 10% higher in countries like United States, Canada, and United Kingdom. This indicates a biological factor among others. Females are superior in resisting to infectious and non-susceptible to degenerative disease. Men are under more strain when such factors like social, economical, and occupational hazards exert greater pressure on men to achieve their goals, my dear friends. So we see that the among uh, gender, the male are more prone to death compared with the female, my dear friends. And we see that if we see in terms of rural urban differences, my dear friends, the mortality difference has been narrowed down in the advanced countries and also in the developing countries, my dear friends. High mortality rate is found in the highly industrial areas and in areas where mining is excessively taking place because cities are facing various problems like pollution, air pollution, water is contaminated, even we do not get the proper food, my dear friends, even the food is being adulterated, and we also have violence, we have crime, we have traffic accidents, and so on. That's the reason why the mortality rate is very, very higher in the